Jessica via email writes, we're 53 and thinking about buying a rental property for income in retirement. What should we watch out for before jumping in? Hey, rental income can sound like easy money until it's not. So let's talk about what most people overlook before becoming landlords in retirement. I'll say, first of all, rental income can be a fantastic way to passively receive income in retirement, but you have to do it in a smart way. And I think first and foremost for me, Janet, when I think about people wanting to delve into this, I would caution them not to jeopardize what you have already worked hard for up until this point.
Yeah, I think this has to be supplemental to your retirement and not the primary thing, because Scott, you and I actually both have rental property, kind of a different approach that we're taking, but what you're doing works for you and what I'm doing works for me. But I know that, for some people, this is a good supplement, but for others, it looks intriguing, but I'm telling you, you're just not wired for it. Yeah. And it's just, you've got to have some good insight into who you are, and you've really got to understand how this works. So, Scott, let's kind of roll through some of the things that we would talk about in this situation.
Yeah, and I think the first piece, when she says what to watch out for before jumping in, we'll just take a pause here and say you need to probably get some legal guidance on how you need to structure the ownership of that. I was thinking about business owners, and as we transitioned into that, you may want to take a look at creating a business entity like an LLC that owns that property if you do this. Now, that would be kind of simultaneously to actually buying the property probably. It's not super hard to do. That may be the right route. You might need a different business entity. Legal advice would help you understand that. But in general, the liability piece is what we want to focus on there, because you have renters, they can sue you.
Well, and setting it up as an LLC, then you still have some choices. Are there going to be any other people in it with you? Do you want to go the sub-S route? Do you want to go the partnership route? And why? And for me, when we set up our rental property businesses, we went through, we actually dealt more with the CPA because we knew we needed an LLC, but it was then the question of, okay, this is who we're going to be doing this with in this particular company, and now how do we want to structure that? And that was very critical advice, but I think either or both, and between an attorney and a CPA, you need to know that you understand at the end of the day what the end result is going to be, what the pros and cons are for that structure.
So the other piece would be, how are you going to fund the down payment? How are you going to where are you going to get the capital to begin the process of getting into this rental property? Because where you get it from, it may be very easy for someone at 53 to go, hey, we've saved quite a bit of money here. Let's dip into the piggy bank and buy a house. We would caution you not to use retirement savings as a source of capital to buy the real estate, because if you do, you'll be subject to taxes, potentially early withdrawal fees, and that could put your retirement at risk, your financial independence at risk. Some people even like to buy real estate with their IRA. That is possible, but I tell you, it is riddled with complications. We won't really have time to go into all of that, but there are so many restrictions and requirements to doing that inside of your IRA that I've never really talked to anybody that liked doing that, all of that for sure.
The thing, I'll fast forward the clock here for you. One of the things that concerns me the most about doing that is when you get into required minimum distribution age, it gets messier than you can fathom, or it can at that point. So just, if that is your plan, proceed with tremendous caution and great knowledge.
Exactly, because where are you going to get the liquidity? If all of the IRA is in an illiquid investment, you can't take the RMD, and you could really potentially blow yourself up with penalties there. So I would recommend, first of all, creating a retirement income plan to know where you stand on your path to financial independence, because that will allow you then some decision points. If you find out you are on track to have the retirement you want when you want it, then, and you have some excess savings that you can use to be the capital to put some down payment on a rental property, I think it makes sense. If you are behind on your retirement savings, I would certainly caution you to delay that plan.
Yeah, the other thing, you talked about retirement money, like not pulling the down payment from your IRA. The other place I would not pull it from, and a lot of people don't think about this, is your emergency fund.
Yeah.
It's easy to see the red flags on not pulling it from the IRA because of the taxes and penalties. But your emergency fund is really important, number one, for your family personally. That's why you have it in the first place. But number two, you're going to need an emergency fund for this business, too, because, Scott, we had some fence repairs this week, and last month we had some other repairs on another house. And so that's just kind of part of it. And you have to understand that it's going to take a lot of money for this investment to work for you.
Yeah, you're going to need extra cash flow, for sure. So if you don't have it, and then you have to go to savings to do some of that, maybe make a payment when you don't have it rented, that could be a problem. So you have to analyze where you are in your emergency fund, and your base emergency fund needs to be larger than it is right now before you own that house. Other considerations. So do some research. What are the average rents in that area that you're looking at? Can you at least cover the mortgage payment and other expenses like property taxes and insurance, maybe some fence repair, with the rent you collect? That seems like a pretty obvious thing, but that may be overlooked. You have to have that coverage so that you're not going the wrong direction with that cash flow. I think, are you handy? I'm not. Okay, so I had to consider whatever I got fixed was going to get paid for because somebody else was going to have to do it. If you have to pay for maintenance and repairs instead of doing it yourself, that's a big piece to it.
It can be. I'll tell you, in our family, I grew up on a farm, and Dad was like, if you own it, you need to be able to fix it. And so that's how I grew up. But my husband did not grow up that way, and at this point also has health issues. And so while his heart would love to help me, he doesn't have the skill set or the health to do it, and I don't have the time to do it just by myself. And so we don't do any of those repairs personally, but what we decided to do, and Scott, I know this is different than the approach that you've taken on this, but for us, it's a good fit. We have a management company that handles all of it, and I just get an email that says, hey, we're doing fence repairs, and here's the amount, and it's going to either come out of the rent payment that's coming in from the properties, or we need a check from you, and they're handling it, and they get obviously a percentage of the rent, but I don't have to do anything with it, and so that has worked really well for us. But again, this is about just understanding your options.
Yeah. I have a maintenance or a management company,
okay,
but it's my son-in-law.
Yeah, there you go. It's different. It's different.
So I think I'm paying less than you.
Probably so.
But his skill set may be a little bit less extensive. I think he's pretty much just mowing the yard right now. But, all right. So, and we would encourage you, hey, if you're going to be a business, make a business plan. You know, how long do you plan to own it? That's what we thought about. What does resale look like when you do? What is your expected ROI? Rate of return or return of investment here, the money you put in it compared to the price you can sell it for. And we've got an example here to walk through.
Yeah.
And again, hypothetical for sure. And I don't want to get everybody raging about, hey, we got to get some rental properties, because this is going to look pretty good. But it is an example of what you could potentially do.
And frankly, it could go the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. But let's say you bought the house for $300,000, and that's a pretty moderately priced home in
These
2025.
days, yeah.
You have 20% down of $60,000. You take a 30-year mortgage out, 7% mortgage rate. That's about where they are with good credit today. So you would initially owe $240,000 on the home. That's your principal. And after 10 years of making that payment, you would owe still about $200,000. If you assume a 3% annual increase in price on the price of the home, you could resell that potentially in 10 years for about $400,000. So you bought it at $300,000, 10 years later, it could be worth $400,000 at about a 3% compounded rate of return. If you had the home rented for that 10 years, that's the big key here, right?
Yeah, and it's not going to be the whole 10 years.
Exactly.
It might be most of it, but it will not be 100%. But play along for the example. Here we go.
You got a guy that wanted to rent a house for 10 years and you never had it empty, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't make the mortgage payment, somebody else did, and that's the key. You didn't put that much more money into it either, and that's not assuming repairs and maintenance and those types of things. You would net close to $200,000 on the sale of that $400,000 house, which means you made $140,000 on a $60,000 investment. Now that's about 133% return over a decade. So it's around 11 or 12% annualized. So that would be an example of how rental properties could be a very good investment. And
again, proceed with caution. That might be the theme for the day. Yes. Proceed with caution.
Not everybody is going to get that. That's for sure. But that is an example of, while we do like real estate, and I would also throw this in here just to kind of close, there are, for other people who are not that big of a risk taker in terms of managing something, creating their own business, having that hard real estate that they own, there are alternative investments that you can be a part of as well, like real estate investment trust, if you really want that asset class in your overall portfolio. But again, work with a financial advisor to see if that's for you.
I think I'll just circle back to be sure that you're doing this out of logic and math and not emotion, and I'm going to use an ugly word here, jealousy. We don't often identify that in ourselves, but when you have a friend who's doing rental property and they're doing it well, it's really easy to go, ooh, me too, and maybe it's the right fit for you, but maybe it's not. And you've got to have those cash reserves, as we said, and you've got to be able to cover the cash flow of it as well.
Jessica, thanks for your question. It is going to be named our question of the week on this week's Get Ready for the Future show. We would love to send you a Get Ready for the Future show tumbler for being named the question of the week. We just need to hear from you. You can send us a show. If you want to shoot a video, send us a show. Send us an email at show@getreadyforthefuture.com to claim your tumbler. And if we want to hear from you, and maybe you could be the next question of the week, just text or leave a voicemail to 501-381-5228.